And we're back for segment number 2. I have an interesting couple of guests here with me that are definitely going to add a little bit more insight on what's going on right now. If you tuned into the first part of the show, as of August 3rd, Florida saw a rise in new COVID cases that rose up to 50,997 cases. And of course, more than 134,500 new cases just in this past week alone. I read a really interesting article from Vox that said basically 70% of all over 18 population has at least received one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, and still immunity is much more widespread now, and medical care for COVID-19 is much more improved than it was last year. As a result, deaths are so far not rising in the same rate as the cases are. The vaccinated can expect that the protection, even as the Delta variant takes hold, but the unvaccinated are facing a lot more dangerous viruses on their own, which breaks down the category into 3 interesting segments. There's, of course, the unvaccinated people that make up for about 90% of the confirmed new cases. Now the dominant Delta variant is leading to more hospitalizations, and all the available data shows that it's more transmittable than previous variants, very much like the chickenpox. The CDC also estimated that the unvaccinated people are up to 8 times as likely to be infected with COVID-19 and experience symptoms, sometimes 25 times more likely to be hospitalized with more serious symptoms, and 24 times as likely to die of the infection as compared to those who have been vaccinated. Vaccinated people are also a part of the new category that are called breakthrough, which are showing some infections that are small but are notable in terms of showing some of the new reported cases. And vaccinated people account for less than 5% of the confirmed cases in most places currently. And then, of course, there's the third category, which is the category of vaccinated people with no symptoms. This is probably the smallest share of the cases reported by a positive test. Now, why am I bringing this all up? Because we're definitely seeing a surge in the number of cases, causing droves of people to either A, want to get vaccinated, and more importantly, want to get tested. Waiting lines in hospitals, pharmacies, doctor offices, urgent cares are now hours long, and many people cannot, do not, and will not wait that long for their chance to get tested. And what better guests can I have than Sam Srinivasan and Mike Collins from COVID TESTING LLC that are here to shed some great information with us. Guys, thanks for being a part of my show. I really appreciate you guys making it. I know you guys couldn't make it in person just because you're dealing with this overwhelming demand that you have, and you have to go out and do what you need to do. So keep doing God's work, guys. Thanks for being a part of the show.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business. Why did you start it? And what was the need that you saw that wasn't being addressed right now in the market?
So that's a great question, because obviously testing was starting to be very prevalent last year, mid last year, as the first wave came through. But we sat together, Sanjay and I and our partners, and said, what's the issue here? What needs to be solved? And the big issue that we were seeing for ourselves, let alone as a business platform, was the speed and accuracy of the results, specifically the speed of the results. I mean, people were being, in essence, forced to, having to sit at home for 2, 3, 4 days at times, and the amount of stress for people, employers and so forth, it just seemed there needed to be a solution there. So, speed was kind of the driver for us. We wanted to be a service to people, but we also knew as a customer ourselves that we wanted that accuracy and speed combined. So very quickly we designed, based upon, I had experience in the lean manufacturing industry where, you look at what's called attack time and how many people can you see per day, and how can you make a most efficient and effective process. And with Sanjay's sphere of influence in town, we very rapidly grew that model out so that we could literally help the public, but help the public quicker. So it was based on the speed and wanting to see people not have to spend more time than they needed to at home awaiting a result.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of springboard off that, the absolute reason for us was more of a service to the community, right? We wanted to get kids back in school, professionals back in, employees back to work, and now the traveling community back traveling. So by default, we wanted to stimulate not only the local economy, but the travel community as well. So, for us, our endeavor was, yes, there was a need. Speed was of the utmost importance, but it was also, a service to the community.
But more so than that, I think your timing of how this business serves the community now couldn't be more quintessentially timed than it is right now, because of one reason. I myself went to go and visit your facility not once but twice last week, and as opposed to waiting, I hate to say this, at one of the other public services for 4 or 5 hours where you had cars wrapped around multiple traffic lights on the main street, I could come over to one of your locations, get a test done, get a result in as little as 15 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and that goes to what Mike's statement earlier was, the tack time. Our model is very unique, and that's, again, that's the value that we give our patients and the community, is the fact that you're in and out of our facility. It's efficient, it's fast, it's effective, and we get the job done. So yeah, the lines that are wrapping around, we theoretically could and would have that, but our model allows that efficiency, the free flow.
So I think for those, we also Dawood build a model with flexible staffing as well. Rather than having siloed units, we based our premise around the medical staff, because the medical staff could help also direct. We call them patient advisors, because we felt it very important from day one that we're not selling a test. We're advising people and giving them the appropriate test that they need, because there's so much misinformation out there across the internet. And I mean, just every day we hear different mythical tales of what's right or wrong for people. And if you have a medical staff that are really helping drive that, giving the right information, then also administering the test and then completing the results, it makes for a very efficient process for us.
Listen, I was confused when I went there myself, because you offered, I believe it was 3 different. You know what? Let me just turn the question back to you guys. What types of tests do you offer, and what are they specifically good for?
That's a great question.
And I think that will actually help the listeners out there that are considering going out to get a test to one of the major pharmacies and have to wait till the next day or the day after because all of the appointments are booked. What tests do you offer, and what purposes do they serve?
So that's a great question. So there are 3 primary tests, as you so rightly said, Dawood. So let me start with the obvious one, because there's a big push right now to travel, and we're seeing a lot in the travel sector, which is called the PCR. That's the polymerase chain reaction. In fact, there are many firms, again, for some clarity, and I'm so glad you brought this question up, it has to be an RT, reverse transcription polymer chain reaction. So people will see the acronym RT-PCR. It has to be an RT-PCR in order to travel. So we offer the RT-PCR, again, based on our core beliefs and vision and mission. We wanted to have the fastest result, and we've managed to get that exclusivity to drive that fastest result. We have a 30-minute RT-PCR solution. The result is provided to you in 30 minutes. A few minutes later, the system is loaded and sends to your phone the result.
And I'm living proof of that experience, by the way. I know the difference between going to a major pharmacy and having to wait 3 business days to get a result versus getting that info 30 minutes later right to your phone, whether you're getting it in a text message or an email. It's right there, ready for you to find out whether you're positive or negative.
No, we appreciate that acknowledgement. So the RT-PCR, so great question for listeners yourself is, so why would someone do it if they're not traveling? The RT-PCR has a much higher specificity and accuracy than other tests. That's just fact. It's called the gold standard test. So from the point where you maybe have been exposed to a point where your body starts building antibody, the PCR has a tremendous wide spectrum of time that it can pick up that RNA, amplify it, and allow us to read the result. So tremendous test if you think you've got exposed, tremendous test if you're not showing any kind of symptoms. It's kind of the go-to test. The next test is that antigen test. Many people hear the antigen. You can get an antigen. We offer a 10-minute antigen.
I got that one as well, too.
The 10.
I'm going through the buffet of all the tests that you guys are having to supply.
So we have the antigen test. So the antigen test really is for those that are feeling sick. We have a new campaign called Cold or COVID, right? Nice. So you have the sniffles nowadays, and it's like the scarlet letter of the millennials, right? I mean, do I have cold or COVID? So if you take because it measures the protein, it's a nasal pharyngeal swab. It's a 10-minute test. It can take, say, you are infectious and contagious. It has a much narrower window of target than a PCR, meaning it's really designed for when you start feeling under the weather or after about day 3 or 4 of knowing that you're exposed. So even if you're asymptomatic and you have it, you'd want to have an antigen. You can have an antigen because it's going to pick up that protein that's in your body. So we offer that 10 minutes. And then the last one, which is really gaining a lot of traction for us right now, and really for the community, we want the community to be advised and really making sure they're utilizing this opportunity. We have the antibody test. You know, there's a lot of mythical understanding about what happens when you're vaccinated, or hell, I had COVID a few months ago, I'm protected. It's like my infinity cloak, I'm my cloak of protection. And it's not. I mean, it just isn't. Every antibody has a shelf life. Like milk, it has a shelf life. So at some point, it diminishes to the point where you're susceptible again. So we have an antibody test. There are 2 types of antibodies in the body, an IgM, which is kind of the body's first natural line of defense. It's like you're being given a shield and an armor and a sword because the body knows that something's afoot and it needs to start healing. So that's your first line of defense. It's a very narrow window, few days for the IgM, but the IgG, which is the antibody gives you the immunity, then takes over. It's like building the moat around your castle. That's the one that really protects you. So in essence, that's what the vaccination is doing. The vaccination is taking you straight on a monopoly board to the goal. It's taking you straight to the IgG state. But if you are previously had COVID, people know that they've been tested for an antibody. You got the IgG. The other last part I'll say to it, and then I'll see if Sanjay has to add, is the IgG is an interesting thing. The antibody is a very interesting thing because it has muscle memory, meaning when you first get COVID and your body takes time to realize and act upon what's happening into it, it takes a while, up to 9, 10, 12. It's different for every person based upon their age and so forth, and any pre-existing conditions, to get that IgG in the body. The next time the body gets exposed to the virus, the body has muscle memory. It says, hang on a second, I know you, you're not good for me. So there's a much shorter dwell time for the body to be able to build that IgG back up again. So we can test for that.
So for those of you who are listening, if you want to get a test done immediately and not have to wait in line, you really need to go out and see my friends over at COVID Testing LLC. They operate in different locations all over the city. So, gentlemen, where can people come and find your locations if they want to go out and get tested right away and not have to wait in a long line and not have to even get an appointment?
We've got 7 locations located throughout Central Florida. You can access, the best thing to do is access our website. It's www.covidtestingllc.com. Again, www.covidtestingllc.com. You can access our sites. We've got them conveniently located all in Orlando, in the greater Southwest here, as well as the greater Orlando area, and into the villages as well. So
villages, Dr. Phillips, Kissimmee.
Dr. Phillips, we've got our flagship location is on 33rd Street. And we've got Dr. Phillips, we've got Kissimmee, we've got the villages, and we have remote locations in Winter Park as well.
And we're very, very, very excited to announce to everyone, because it's been now a few days open, our latest site, which is at the Orlando International Premium Outlets on International Drive.
I saw that. Congratulations, you guys.
That's a fixed location, beautiful location. I think that's also going to rapidly become a flagship for us. Tremendous. Obviously, heavily assisting those who are traveling. There's a large.
I mean, what better way to assist the people that are traveling that are coming to the outlet malls and can get tested at the same time?
That's
very
right.
good. I mean, we actually have a test and shop, right?
There you go.
Test, and then while they're picking up their belongings, they're shopping in the stores, the result comes just as you said, Dawood, straight to their phone.
Yeah, that's also with the traveling community. I mean, we've got the shoppers, we've got that demographic as well, but and the hours of operation is more mall-based hours, which
Absolutely.
is very convenient for the patients that need to get tested. So, in other words, we're open 8 to 5, through our sites. But if anybody wants to get tested later into the PM, into 9 p.m., they can go to Orlando Premium.
And I mean, what better way to do that, especially when your travel plans are getting cut shorter because you're trying to squeeze in all of the stuff with your family, and you're last minute trying to figure out where to go and get tested and not have to wait in line, then just go out to the outlet mall and just get tested right there and then.
Well, Dawood, you couldn't bring up a better point. We kind of jokingly, non-jokingly say, you know, all those people that wondered how they were ever going to use calculus, now they have to sit there and figure out if it's 72 hours before my flight,
I know, right?
Traveling east, when do I need to get tested? Well, if we can do a 30-minute test, I can do it while you're driving to the airport.
I'm telling you, that's the way to do it. Guys, I'd like for you guys to stay into the next segment. I have a number of questions to keep asking you guys. You guys have been a wealth of information. If you guys have any questions, please call in or text 321-339-1055. And if you're out thinking about going to get a COVID test of any kind, there's 3 of them for you to go out and get tested out today at any one of the COVID Testing LLC locations. Go to their website. That's covidtestingllc.com. You don't need an appointment. You can just roll up, get tested, and get a quick result back in as little as 10 minutes for some of the tests, up to 30 minutes for the PCR test.